Okay, so this morning I am pleased to introduce George Baker. First saw George speak at the Backyards and Beyond conference in Myrtle Beach a number of years ago, and I'm happy to have him here in Crested, Butte. George specializes in executive leadership and works with clients to take action and lead. He has 32 years of municipal fire, EMS, and disaster management experience and 26 years as a chief officer. And now he provides executive level coaching to individuals, groups, and teams to refine their abilities to get out and lead. Chief Baker understands that successful projects can be predicted by the core energy of the team leader, the stakeholders, and everybody involved. In this session, in keynote session, he's going to educate us as he entertains and reviews the ups and downs of the collaborative risk reduction programs based on the tenets of the National Cohesive Fire Management Strategy and the IAFC Ready, Set, Go program. Please welcome George Baker.
I kind of want to watch this. It sounds like an interesting speaker. I'm like, wow, I know that guy. Let's just practice it. Okay. So you already heard that, right? But this is the disclaimer. This is what I'm supposed to be giving you. And you can read it if you want to. And here's our commercial. Who has seen this before? You've seen this before. Who hasn't seen this before? You haven't seen this before? Wow. This came out, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago when the #1 at DOI and #1 at the other one, what's the other one? Agriculture. They were told by the president to stop the nonsense and start working together. And they formed the cohesive strategy, and they formed regional teams and a whole bunch of stuff. So this is what you're supposed to be doing. So you can go back to that slide later if you haven't seen it before. But look at cohesive strategy, look at your regional cohesive strategy, and then look at your neighbors, and look at what we're doing at the Northeast. Because there are monthly newsletters coming out, there's grant announcements, there's all sorts of stuff coming out of the cohesive strategy work. And Ready, Set, Go. Who's heard of Ready, Set, Go? Yay! Good, good, good. So this was something that the IAFC, Bob Roper, any of you know Bob out of Ventura County, Bob stole this from Australia after the Black Friday or Black Tuesday, the really bad fires in Australia. And they started to put in Ventura County, start to put the responsibility back on the neighborhoods and the people, and to have a plan. And this was a way that the fire department and volunteer fire departments or regional fire departments could get out and start messaging about preparedness, which we linked to the Firewise program, alertness, which we linked to the NOAA radio system and other local community, and then evacuation. And he got in trouble because when they published this, the sheriff said, "But I'm in charge of evacuation." And he said, "Fine. What's the message?" Bob said, "Tell them to run." You know, it's just like, we work together, and it's about working together. You know that sheriff, don't you? In Colorado, it's the sheriff, right, that does evacuations. And I hear they do it fairly well because you've had a lot of practice. So, just to get us thinking this morning, I'm starting with a quiz. Who knows the answer? What do we have here? We have 3 llamas, right? We have a beast, a priest, and a really big fire in the Northeast, a 3L llama. So today, I'm not used to the microphone. If I you can still hear me, right? Because I have way too much energy. 3 cups of coffee standing here. We're going to talk about values, who. We're going to talk about core energy, how we show up. And it was a really big challenge. This morning, last night, Eric and I, do I wear the black pants that matches my suit jacket? Or do I wear my khaki pants that's a little more laid back? And Eric said, "You should probably wear shorts and clogs, George, you'd fit right in." Didn't bring them with me. And then results. The what? What are we trying to get? So that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to start with values. values come from our beliefs, our expectations, our backgrounds. Who can tell me when values are formed in human beings?
Continuously.
Continuously, they're being adjusted. How about our foundation values?
Age 5.
Age 5, how about a couple more years? 8 to 13. 8 to 13, some as early as 5, some as late as 19, depending on what's going on in their family. Was there a sickness? Was there separation of parents? Was there September 11th happened? What things happened as they were in those formative years to form their values. And there's different values we deal with. We can be different people. At home in the wintertime, it was a beanie hat. Thank you, Eric. I have a very nice one to add to my collection. A long sleeve t-shirt, shorts, and Tevas. At work, it was a pressed white shirt, a black tie, patent leather shoes, pressed black pants. I had two different value sets going on, two different messages I was trying to send. Or maybe at home there wasn't really a message because I was too tired from work. So if you look at this slide, this is interesting. The fat guy in the white shirt with the mustache is me probably 45 or 50 pounds ago. Retirement is amazing. How it takes the stress off you. I retired as fire chief 5 years ago. And you can, what am I expressing there? What am I expressing? No, I did not. I'm at the end. I'm closest to my vehicle, so I can leave. The guy standing at the top, and he's standing on a 4-inch berm from where we were cutting out the firewood. He had to stand up there because he's only like this tall. So he stood up on the high thing. Rick Volek from Fish and Wildlife, fabulous, fabulous, fabulous guy. If any of you Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, you talk about grooming, it's a really, really bad thing, grooming people for naughty stuff with little children. He did this thing, grooming with me, which I'm going to talk about, to really bring me in to understand the wildfire issue in our community. And as you can see, there's these little scrub things, and there's these pine things, and there's these leaf things, and all of them catch on fire. And between March and May, when our humidity drops below 40%, I know for you that it's rain, but we drop below 40%, we have fires. And behind Rick, if you walk 3 miles, we had a major league subdivision, 10 square miles, that had wood-shake roof covenant. And those folks, and wood-shake roofs aren't a problem in New England if you let the moss and the lichen and all that stuff, but they don't do that. They put bleach on it every spring so their roofs look new. And then they oxidize and they burn even faster. Job security for me. But this group was a group that we were in the National Wildlife Refuge, and there were people from all different sorts of interdisciplinary groups. There's the fire chief at the end, someone from the State Division of Fish and Wildlife. The guy hiding is the town planner, who was also a part of this group called Orinda Wildlife Trust. They believe, they were buying land and putting fences around it to keep people out. You have fences here to keep, we've got a fan. We have fences here to keep animals off the road. They have fences to keep humans on the road, keep them out of the wildlife areas. The Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, one of the tribal elders, I don't know if he was an elder at the time, but he is now, Chucky Green, the state refuge steward. So our refuge was one of those checkerboards, had a bunch of different people. And then another native person. And then the guy with his hands in his pocket, next to his vehicle, was one of the FMOs for Fish and Wildlife. And he and I were bookends. We were standing at both ends. He wanted to leave too. He didn't want to be there. Because we were talking about that little scar in the tree and the beetles that we were going to attract. All right, more about this later. So values. In your organization and yourself, you have values. Can anyone share something you value or a value you have? Trust, honesty. You're going for the bold ones. Integrity. Humor. That's one of my favorites. Humor. Timeliness. Is anyone timeliness? If you're 10 minutes early, you're actually 5 minutes late. Those timely people that the car's running and they leave. You won't. Like I do with my children a couple times. So we all have these values. People on your team, here's an announcement if you didn't know it, be ready. They might have different values. Some folks on your team, you may trustworthiness. So I have a coach, I have a therapist, I have a dog, I have a whole team that takes care of me. But this was an easy question. Someone said to me, George, what are your values? Easy. Trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and any other Boy Scouts? Reverend. That was easy. 8 to 12. I was immersed in it. These are my values. And if I start out and I lead with trust, really don't know Eric. He hasn't paid me yet. But if I lead with trust, we can have a little issue going on here. And I learned through some work, some coaching, and some communicating, and some growing up, that kindness has to be is what I choose as my lead value now. And giving, and forgiveness, and some other things. So you can do a values inventory. And at the end, I'm going to introduce to you a website you can go to. You can give me your coveted email address, and I will send you a values inventory worksheet that you can look at your values. It's got a bunch of words on it. You can add words to it. And if you're really fancy, you can go on wordcloud.something, and you can make one of these little word clouds of your values. What's really neat is you can do it with your team. And this word.cloud.thing, if you put in honesty 6 times, it comes up bigger. If you put in timeliness once, and you start to see what your team, and you could actually frame this and put it in your hallway to remind your team what your team values are. And then the dreaded values collision. I value timeliness, someone else values orderliness, I want to leave, they want to clean up. Right? Oh, leave the dirty dishes for group B. They'll get them. It's time for us to go home. Because I have somewhere else I need to be, and I'm starting to run late. And you can see how that person, that, especially if I'm the high commander, and say we need to leave, and they're leaving a mess. And we start to have a values collision. We can have a breakdown in the team. Now, if I know, as a good team leader, that someone values, maybe 10 minutes before it's time to leave, I could remind everyone, the bus is leaving at 7, but we need to clean up. And Eric's going to be in charge of that, so let's get started early. I'm picking on Eric because he's pretty much, Eric and Brenda, I'll pick on Brenda in a few minutes. A lot of people remember their names. And I should remember Brenda's because I already do it for 10 years. But the values collision can be major league. Because if we look at this group, and this fire picture, that's a wildfire on Staten Island. It went to 6 alarms. I'm telling you. It was a big one. And yeah, the guy's in shorts and not in PPE and all that nonsense. You can argue with me later. But I thought it was really cool because I'm going to show you a picture later how they finally put it out. They had a really big fire. What's the value of those firefighters? What do they value? Safety. Not in shorts, but safety. They value safety. They value other people's safety beyond theirs. They value safety. The elected officials up in the corner, what do they value? Voters. Votes. Job security. So do we, though. But job security. Money. What else do they value? Power. They want to make the decision, right? Burn, no burn. And then down here, the homeowners. What do they value? Their homes, their property, maybe some seclusion, maybe some privacy, that you're not going to tell me what to do? Okay, I'll put a red rock out in front of you guys know that story, right? The green rock, red rock. I love that one because a lot of people got in trouble, so it's fun hearing about that. But there's different values. And the firefighters, what do they want? What does the fire chief want? What was the secret I told the table I talked to in the back corner? When I went to town hall, they'd say, hey, chief, how's it going? What are you here for today? Meeting? Hearing? No, I'm here for more people, more trucks, more hose, more money. More. Firefighters want more. They want more help. They want to do a better job. What do the elected officials want? Less, taxes, so they get reelected, spend less money on firefighters because they didn't vote for them in the last election, or whatever. And the homeowners, what do they want? They want what?
Less taxes.
Less taxes, they want to be left alone until that's knocking at their back door, then they want our help, right? So the values even switch. Well, let's go. So that's values, again, one piece of how we make decisions. And one piece of how your team works together. And if you're bringing a collaborative, my Firewise friends, if you're working with the fire chief, he or she's going to come in with a different set of values than the town planner or the economic development or the Orinda Wildlife Trust people who want to build a wall. So I'm going to shift now. I love the TED Talk idea because it taught me that I really need to do 3 in 45 minutes. We got to shift gears and do a little. So we're going to talk about energy. As an executive coach, the school I went to taught us that how we show up is a choice. And I like to show that when I walk in a room, most people say, hey, George is a really happy person. Why is that? Hey, George, how are you this morning? I am super fantastic. Some of you heard that from me. I'm great, life is good. How I am is happy and positive. And they go, George, you can't be that happy and positive. I'm like, okay, ask me again. Hey, George, how are you? The bed, my back, flying, I got this migraine. The coffee. Don't you guys know where Seattle is? Come on, can we get some decent coffee here? And they're like, bring back happy George. So how we show up can make a difference right in that first few moments. In that first few minutes. So the model I learned in coaching was how we show up as a choice. And this little graphic, I hope you can read it. If you can't, come up front and squint at it. We have 7 levels of energy. The high commander, the doctor that put this model together, looked at people and came up with 7 levels of energy. Starting at very low energy, level 1. If you're in a building, what's the lowest story? Basement. During a tornado, where's the safest place to go? Basement. So level 1 is a protective energy, but it's victim energy. It's very low. And the core thought with level 1 energy is I lose and you lose. Oh, Eric, you don't want me to come speak to you because I'm not very good. And people aren't going to be very happy. And you're going to be in trouble and I'm going to be in trouble and we're all going to eat dirt. Level 1. Who knows people that walk around with level 1 energy? Who knows people when they're stressed? They run away. Now, kid's sick, haven't had dinner yet, have a presentation tomorrow morning, go home, go to bed. Haven't seen them for 3 days. So this energy can show up every day, and there are some people that have had so much stress in their life that they show up every day in level 1 victim energy. It's a stress energy. Most people, and I've done over 200 of these. This is an analysis we do. There's a little test we can send out, a little assessment. One person didn't have both level 1 and level 2 energy in their stress energy. Under stress, most people go to level 1 or level 2, which is my favorite. This was my old stress energy. So level 1 is victim, and it's lethargy and apathy. I don't care, don't pick me. Level 2 is fight energy, it's anger energy. Still negative energy, because I win, and not only do I win, but you die. I mean, you lose. When they did mine was, and I'll show you in a moment, my assessment, they had to flip it sideways, because my level 2, I was the chief, right? We had a union contract, we had fire codes, and then we had the rules that I made up just for when I needed my rules that I made up, because I was the chief. And no one wanted to be around me because it wasn't I when you lose, it was I when you die. And so think of the people that are under stress. Under stress. Do you know someone, not you, because all of you are wonderful high energy people, but someone under stress, they start barking. 107 code CMR 3214, you cannot park your vehicle like that, or it will be towed down. And I happen to have a tow hook on my car, and I'm going to do it and ruin your car. You know those people, right? You didn't trim your weeds. Sending out my son with a mower, just park a restaurant with a mower, of course. And we're going to charge you $372 to cut your lawn. Or a $500 fine. Hire my son, pay the fine. You know those people? They're out there. Push the button. You know, you work for one of those people, don't you? They're out there. They're out there. That was me. Until I realized, and is it the next one? So that's me, right? 6 years ago. 5 years ago. Level 3 energy. I win and I hope you win too. Car salesman. Hope you like the car. I know you wanted leather seats, but I got you this fine alpaca weave instead because it's the best we had. I hope you like the, well, it's cold here, right? I like alpaca weave instead of leather. I win, I hope you win too. Level 3 is starting to be positive energy because you're not trying to take out the other person. You're not looking at lose energy. You hope they win. Of course, after you win. After you get your commission, after you get your budget, after you get home for dinner. Whatever the thing that's important for you. Level 3 energy. Did I get you so far? You know where I'm going? Level 4. What's the word underneath it? I can't read without my glasses. Yeah. Level 4 is I win by you winning. I'm all about your win. Level 4 was my energy, right? The one on the right. That's my level 4 energy. I was all about the other person winning. All about the other person winning. Which is great. It's great to work for a boss or have a partner or a mate. That's level 4 energy. Because they're all about you. And you know those people. You know the person you can go to and say, hey, I can't get anyone to work overtime on July 4th. Want to work? And I go, sure. I'm not allowed to swear. Darn, that's the 4th of July. I didn't put the two together. But I was always saying yes to that stuff. You know those people. You go to them and you abuse and use them. You take advantage of them, which is the problem with level 4 energy is eventually you get tired. Because you're working on the extra shifts. You're staying up at night on fire guard. You're staying back to wash the dishes and then paying for your own Uber to catch up with the crew. And you get tired, but level 4 is really that start of high energy. High energy. Level 5. Level 5. We all win or we don't play. We all win. So that person's really in it for the team to win and for themselves to win. Sure, I'll work July 4th, but I'm scheduled for Christmas. I'll swap. We'll work it. You'll win. I'll win. I get to win too. You know, we get to leave on time so we can stop and get coffee. You know, working in, knowing what your team's win is, but also standing up for yourself. Level 5 is really great energy because you start to sustain yourself. You know how, level 4, you forget to stop and fuel and you run out of gas. Level 5, you're watching your fuel indicator too. Level 5 energy. Level 6, there is no winning and losing. Everything is an opportunity. Do you know those people that they got flooded out, the game got canceled, and they end up sitting in a parking lot eating a cold hot dog? And they're like, man, I never realized how good a hot dog was. It was a great, they find something positive. And you know them. He's sitting right there. We know those people, they can make, you know, they don't only just make lemonade out of lemons. They have a whole party for everyone to enjoy it. Everything. They get to the point where, you know, they realize that that horrible divorce 10 years ago gave you 2 wonderful children, one who just graduated college. And they start to acknowledge that without those, at the time, were bad experiences, were really experiences that gave you other experiences. So that level 6 energy is those people that everything is a lesson. Everything is a lesson. And I say those people, the level 6 choice. These are choices too. So as a level 4 person, I can choose to see the learning. And see the learning in the group. That if you left an angry meeting, what did you learn? What do you move on for next time? Level 7. No one lives at level 7, but level 7 energy is nothing is real. It's all we made up. The only reason we call this a microphone, do you know why we call this a microphone? Because some dude at some point said, hey, that's a microphone. So we all call it, this is a table because we call it a table. It's what we made up, it's the rules we live by. And the level 7 person can see past those rules. Like the dude at MIT right now that's taking some Harvard stuff, and now at MIT, they're using a sound wave to extinguish fire. Have you heard about that? It's wicked cool. Wicked means good. I'll translate for you. Wicked is good. It's wicked cool that they can take this antenna, wave it over a trash bucket, and put the fire out. And they called me up because they saw that I was on these wildfire committees. And they go, we want to strap these antennas to planes, and we want to drive over fly over wildfires, and send our sound wave and put the fire out. Stops combustion. I'm like, what about the other parts of the fire triangle? Does it stop the heat? No. I said, okay, so you put the fire out, and then the wind blows and the fire comes back. Okay, we're going back to the lab. But in a submarine, right? Put one of those little antennas every 15 feet in a submarine, and they don't have to use halogenated gases or other things that can, stop oxygen so the fire goes out because it can't breathe, but neither can the crew. It's an idea that they're working with DOD now to put fire out. But that's level 7. That's like, there are no rules. They have these great ideas until level 4 comes along and says you can't do that. Energy. Talk to me about energy. Tell me a level 1 experience some of you have had. Anyone? Teammate. Yourself. When's the day you showed up at work and you were like, ain't gonna work? Anyone? Well, level 2, that's my favorite. Can you think of level 2 people that you work with? We can think of, you don't want to talk about it because they're sitting at your table, right? And they might talk to you. But these energies are choices. And so when I had this done, level 4, I haven't updated my slides too well because right now, I got rid of my level 4 energy and I am a 6-5 now. I lead with 5, we all win, and I go to 6. And they're really close. Because I realized that I get to win too. That I do get the afternoon off to go mountain biking yesterday. And we saw a snake. It was only about this big, but it still was a snake. And there was some healthy moose out at the back of Crested Butte. Man, there was one sick moose though, because it kind of like, either it stepped in it or just like kept walking on the trail. But man, there were some healthy moose. I can't wait to get out there later and see if we can find it. But that's my level 6, my new level 6 energy. It's, looking for the excitement and stuff. And I've actually reduced my level 2 in fighting, and I have a little bit more victim energy in my stress. But if you ask Brenda, which would you prefer? A little more victim or a little more fighter? She wants 3, she wants me to go up to we win, and at least figure out her win. So Brenda and I did this in coaching school, and this is great for a team. Because if you look at stress at the time, I went to level 2, Brenda went to level 1. One of our kids is sick and we haven't eaten yet, and we have overtime shift tomorrow, and we're both under stress. And Brenda goes to the basement, and I go pound on the door for her to let me in so I can blame her for the kids being sick. Even though I'm the one that gave them the corn dogs for dinner the night before, I'm still blaming her because she should have known better and thrown them out. Doesn't work well in a relationship. Until we looked at it, we were standing in our coaching trailer looking and going, ew. We have to choose to act differently to each other because we care about each other. We made a promise to care about each other, and we made that promise before and it didn't work, so we're going to make sure this promise works. So this really helps us. But on a team, to know, if you know you go to fight energy, sometimes that's really good. 2 o'clock in the morning, tree on a car, kid trapped in the car. Maybe I am going to get my crew going by using some foul language, but you're not going to beat your crew up when it's over. You're going to convert back. Take that stress energy, put it in some level 2, and then quickly realize you're doing it and move on. And you can see with Brenda, lots of level 5 energy. And in our company, in our team, there's 3 coaches. Brenda's all about us all winning, figuring out a way. I'm figuring out a way for the team to be happy. In my old days, now I'm just sitting there learning and smiling, and they wonder if I really care. Because the higher energy you get, sometimes you get disconnected. So, what do you think about this energy model? Any MBTI folks here? Any DISC people here? The thing with MBTI and DISC is, I'm an I. So I'm like, believe it or not, I'm an extrovert. But that's who I am. With the energy model, I can choose. And sometimes I have to, when we said yes to this conference, and I say yes because Brenda and I make some of these business decisions together, that's what's my intention. My intention is to meet more people, have a learning experience, go to Colorado, on someone else's budget. And you all knew that though. But to share this stuff and have fun. Make an intention of having fun. And this morning, Brenda says to me again, what's your intention today? Connect, share this stuff because it's neat, and have fun. High energy. Choose high energy. And some people could choose stress energy because sometimes it works. But this is neat stuff. You can use it or not. And I'll gladly, if anyone wants more information about it, I'll gladly share it. So looking at this group, what do you think my energy was there? Kind of told you, right? No flipping, flapping way are we going to burn, right? You want to do what? You want to put fire on these little grasses and leaves and burn them? Like on purpose? The lady next to me in the blue jacket, what do you think? She's got a clipboard in her hand? Yeah, a little 3. Yeah, you can win, but man, I'm not getting in trouble. I got to win first. We will make this safe. The Native American guy, Chucky, the guy who can't see, standing the third person, the town planner. If the boss knows I'm here, I'm going to get in trouble. If we get a moth infestation, I'm going to get in trouble. If the chief scratches his car one more time, they're going to blame me, and I'm going to get in trouble. Cape Cod pinstripe, right, driving through the scrub oak. The Native American guy, what do you think he was all about? Why was he there?
We've been burning.
Blueberries. He was there about their native blueberries. And they've been burning. So where we were was the summering grounds. It was half a mile from the ocean. This is where the Wampanoag tribe summered. Then we had a big lake 6 miles inland. And when they left their summer grounds, they burned it. So when they came back, the blueberries were beautiful, and they came back in the spring. But also, the other Wampanoags from the other areas didn't want to go live there because there was nothing left. They burned it. It did some public health stuff. It did some rejuvenation stuff. It did a bunch of stuff. And they've been burning forever and ever and ever. You're laughing, right? But they did, right? And the better tribe was the one who was further down, up the river, right? But Chucky told me stories of this, their oral tradition. The Stewart guy, level 4, he wanted us all to be happy. He didn't want anyone to get in trouble for that scar, that the big agitator, masticator thing. Man, you put a Volkswagen in front of that thing, I bet it would be gone. That thing chewed trees up great. We switched to a smaller one because of the national heritage stuff. If we brought up any Indian artifacts, and we knew this was their big summer ground, our project would have been done. So it was really good because when we came out, this was after day half. We did a half day of grinding. And Chucky said, I don't want this project to stop. And if you bring up any artifacts, we're done. Get a smaller machine, don't go as deep. Because we want to keep getting rid of this stuff. So some high energy stuff going on there. All right, next TED Talk. Any questions about energy? So results. Have you ever heard begin with the end in mind? Have you ever heard of that, begin with the end in mind? Was that Seneca? Did he write that book, Begin with, Brenda said yes. Begin with the end in mind. So the results system, we look at the end, but we also look at the pieces and parts that get us to results. And we have the visible side, our goals, our choices, and our actions. It's the stuff everybody sees. Your annual plan, your strategic plan, your 5-year goals. And the actions you take, showing up at meetings, choosing the right clothes, bringing the team together. And then there's the hidden part, the perceptions, beliefs, the habits, the expectations that, again, we developed between 8 and 15. That's the stuff behind the curtain, the Wizard of Oz. If anyone's calling for the bathroom key back at work, I've got extras, those Model 37s, they fit almost. No. Sometimes you check in at a conference. We're out of paper towels, right? Yeah, dry your hands in the rain. So the results system looks behind the curtain and looks at our values, our perceptions, and beliefs. And it's great to work with a team if you can start to uncover, again, the values, perceptions, and beliefs. So if you have a group together, my Firewise folks, the community people, what are some of the beliefs you have around wildfire? What do you believe about it? You don't believe. It's a fallacy. What do you believe?
It can be healthy.
Wildfire can be healthy. Wildfire can be healthy. My fire folks, what do you believe about wildfire? What do you believe? You believe the health, what else do you believe? Could kill somebody? Could kill you, I hope you believe that. So you take care of yourself. Because you're important if you're not here tomorrow, and you're not going to be there to put the fire out. What do you, fire folks, what do you perceive about the Firewise people? What do you perceive about them? They're there to help you. They're there to watch you, to make sure that they get it their way. I mean, we come with perceptions and beliefs. And they're not good or bad. They just are. They just are. So the results system starts to look at that. And then we talk about results, you talk about goals. So the result, if we look at a result, who would like to be financially free? Financially worry-free. Who would like that? What do you got to do to be financially worry-free? What do you got to do? Stop worrying. That's level 6, right? Just learn. I will learn about that. So make more money in my job, get a raise. Have some savings. These are all goals, right? I want a goal at the end of the year to have $30,000 in the bank. That's a goal. But the result is financially worry-free. Pay off all debts. So if you can think of the results, if you can shift to really say, so the goals of a program, a community Firewise program, and I'm going to pick on you folks because I can see you really clearly. But the results, the goals are, you might have a goal, yesterday somebody talked about 80% chipping, you might have a goal of 30% limb clearing, but really, why are you doing all this? To make it safer. So the result you're looking for, so if you can key in on the results, because if you look back at my cohesive strategy, there's many paths back to Denver, right? We can choose 50 to 280 something. We can choose we can stay on this road out here, right? We can keep going and eventually it'll get you to Aspen, but you better have, my minivan's not gonna get me there. The rental minivan that I didn't get, the 4-wheel drive so I could play. But we could get there different ways. But the result is the same. Knowing that when you bring your group together, if you focus on the result, if you put early on, incident command, right? Big fires, we'll put the result of the day. We want to hold it to so many acres. We want to have so many people not, we want to hold the injuries down. Whatever the goal of the day, the result of the day is. And then the ops team and the planning team go out and then do the goals and do the needs assessment and stuff. So, because there's many ways we could get to it. Oh, we can bring in 35 tankers, right? That's an airplane with what? tankers are 6 wheels and pump. But, because we don't follow rules in the Northeast. But, all the tankers are in California. So, we can still get the results, but we need, instead of 6 tankers, we need 52 Type 3 engines. We can't do that. Okay, seeding and a rain dance. But you keep looking at the results. Looking at the results, and then looking at your goals for the day. So, when you're doing this type of stuff, when you're working with a team, I ask you to consider these. What are the benefits I see in achieving my desired results? The benefits of me being financially worry-free is I'm not spending time looking at my smartphone and my bank account. I'm not worried. I'm not renting the cheapest car on Amazon or Google or TripAdvisor and ending up with a van. I'm going right to Hertz and getting the 4-wheel drive. So the benefits of achieving my results. What's the benefits of a Firewise community? And write those benefits down. The things I tell myself about the ability to achieve my results. Rick Volek, the Fish and Wildlife guy, was probably saying, Chief Baker is a real pain in my neck. That wasn't the word he used. We'll never get this done with him. Or someone on the crew was saying, we'll never get this done with him, and he was saying, give me time. Give me time with Chief Baker. We'll figure this out. But tell yourself the negatives. What's holding you back from getting this done? Contract on Chief Baker, we'll get it done. In working to achieve my desired results, I expect the politicians are going to want a budget. I expect that the union's going to want overtime, because if we're bringing in volunteers, well, we worked in a union environment, and it said they had the first refusal for all work. Good linguists that did that, right? Because they could say volunteers are doing work that we shouldn't have volunteers. But if I expect that, I can talk to them ahead of time. Instead of, if I can look at the things that are going to hold me back early, I can start to talk to people about it. Or I can ignore it and wait for a fight. Other thoughts that might help me achieve my desired results. What are other thoughts? Here's where we get that level 6, level 7 energy. What are some other things we could be doing to get our results? The thoughts that might interfere with achieving my desired results are. Look at all the pieces of your result system that's getting in your way. That's right. There we go. And then, take those negative pieces and reframe them. And this was done with a police department. I was working with a police department, had a new command staff. And their patrol folks were afraid to make a decision. Because the chief before them, if you were going to tow a car in certain neighborhoods, you had to check with the chief. This was a 36-person small community police department. You had to check with the chief before you towed cars in certain neighborhoods. You had to check with the chief before certain people were arrested. You had to check with the chief before you authorized overtime. Pretty much 24/7 had to check with the chief. Now, how does that work when you've got an event going on and the school's overcrowded and the fire department calls you and asks you to write tickets for parking in the fire lane, and you got to call the chief and he's at a Red Sox game and he's not answering his phone? You're afraid that you're going to tow the wrong car, right? So what do? What do? Nothing! You do nothing. What's the worst thing a law enforcement officer can do? Is start to have a culture of doing nothing. Because they get killed, right? I mean, they're law enforcement right now. Any of you LE do law enforcement stuff? I mean, do I pull my gun out? What's the videotape going to say? You know, do I tase them? Do we pepper spray them? Do we shoot them with a beanbag? Pull your gun out and get them to stop before you start. You know, they're thinking all these things as the purpose, either running at them or running away from them. And they had fear. And fear caused complacency. They weren't making decisions. Their arrest numbers were going down, which isn't really a number you look, you know, it's not the best number to look at. But they had numbers, their metrics were going down. Some of their crime areas were going up. Complacency led to indecisiveness. Again, we don't want an indecisive police officer. And going through this process, what behavior does it lead to? Complacency. What's the result? Indecisiveness. Danger. You're not that old here, but Danger Will Robinson, right? Bad things are going to happen for indecisive police officers. And here's the magic in this tool. You work your way down to what it leads to. It leads to danger. What's the opposite of danger? You can read it right. Safety. What do they need in their police department for safety? They need decisive police officers. And the chief was really brave to have, the new chief, to have me come in and do this. Because there's some words now. We need this, our police officers need to be decisive. What do you need in a police department for those street officers to be decisive? Trust. So, what behavior, what result do you really want? What behavior will you need to engage in? Decisiveness. What belief do you have to have? Trust. What actions do you need to build trust? And my arrows should have been the other way, but I was so excited that they came up with these answers when I was doing this. This is from their activity, this chart paper. And the sergeant said, we need to ride with our patrolmen. And the lieutenant said, no, you don't. You need to be sergeants. We need to ride with the patrolmen. As patrolmen, you take off the white shirt, put on a blue shirt, and ride with them, and mentor them, and teach them, and groom them, and do those things to build that trust. So, and the chief, what did the chief need to do? The chief needed to recognize what they were doing right, number one, because we do better when we're told, we'll do it right again if we're told we're doing it right. If we're doing it wrong, we'll do it wrong again, because we're focusing on the doing it wrong. And they started a program where the sergeants were assigned mentor duties to the new patrol officers from a different shift. And there was a, we had to spend some time and some things that, what about the chain of command? No chain of command in this, it's learning. So we worked out a way that, to empower the patrolmen to go back to their sergeant. Lieutenants ended up taking shifts. The chief actually, once a month, rode a shift in a marked car with someone, or if they were low, he was in a car by himself if they were down to 3 officers. And he wore a patrolman's badge, and the sergeant would usually have him do traffic duty somewhere. We had to, go direct traffic or go help the kid. Let the chief do the stuff that they didn't want to do. But that built trust. It was really amazing, really, really amazing. And they're doing good things. They don't even call it community policing anymore. It's just policing. The police chief sits at their community library every Thursday between 9 and noon. Brings his laptop, does his work. Anyone can, because I saw you at the police station the other day. Is everything okay? Instead of, hey, you were chatting with the chief at the library. Different. So he came out of his element. Some neat stuff came out of this. I actually did his own results roadmap before we did this. And it was pretty funny because when we were doing the expectation parts, none of the sergeants said safety. Because safety had been taken away from them. And they didn't put safety as one of the things they did well. And they're pretty sad, pretty scary. But that's going on. It's microcosm of what's going on in our culture. So, remember the big fire I showed you in the beginning in the east? That fire that I showed you, actually, this is mitigation they were doing after the fact. Dave Crary, did you know Dave from the Park Service? You know Dave? Dave and another guy were watching this on the news. They called, Fresh Kills National Park? They said, hey, we got the mower this week. Why don't we come down? So the next morning, they strapped on their trailer on their Type 6 engine, and they drove 4.5 hours to New York City with the red lights on. Dave said it was the longest he's ever had the red lights on his entire career. Drove to New York City, put the lawnmower out. 2 Park Service employees in a lawnmower with, I call it a lawnmower, but it was a big tractor with wheels and stuff. And they circled the fire, and 2 guys in 4 hours in a lawnmower put out a fire that 6 alarms in New York City. So 6 alarms brings you 2 4-man engines, 4 4-man engines, 2 6-person ladder trucks, a heavy rescue, and a chief. So multiply that, and you get your shoes on and you're doing it. Because there was like 100 people there, and they couldn't put the fire out. And New York City said, and that's the battalion chief of planning, we got to do this different. And they started, the Phragmites, they started doing fire breaks around the Phragmites, and that's a Fish and Wildlife vehicle out of New Jersey that was 35 minutes away. They didn't even know it was there. But it was changing that paradigm because the different groups started talking to each other and started doing it differently. Because that house that's there, there's like 700 more houses. And those fires end up being huge, huge fires that gets into those subdivisions or those parts of the community. So, I could see some of you are like, but George, you didn't answer the question that you started with. What happened with Grumpy Chief Baker? What did Rick do? Rick brought in his crew, and I said, the first thing we need is all the road signs cleared back, because we don't want to scratch our trucks and we want to be, but it was really, we were starting to build defensible space on the roadways, so we could go and fight the fire from the road. I could do that. He brought three people from Maine. I say guys, it was actually 2 women and a guy, and 3 folks from New Jersey, and they spent 2 weeks chipping and cutting and chipping and cutting and grinding. And they actually let our folks come out, and he said, you can come and we'll teach you how to do it. But you need chaps. What are chaps? So that a cowboy movie. Chainsaw chaps. We didn't have chainsaw chaps in our fire department. Could cut. So right there, win number 1, we had a fire 3 months later. One of the guys from the military reservation, the saw bucked, and he got 6 months off. Not for punishment, for leg surgery, to reconstruct his leg. And my guy said, you're all saying, hey George, that is like idiot. We didn't know better. You know, there's another slide I have that talks about, you know, we know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know. We didn't know that, but we learned. So these Fish and Wildlife people did some great stuff for us. And then we did all the work. We actually got fire shelters, because I told the guys about screaming and yelling under our brush trucks with sprinkler systems going when fire burned over us at the Mass Military Reservation. Called for our mama a lot of times. But then we kept putting the fire out. But we had fire, those are actually the old ones. I'm like, Rick, I can't afford fire shelters. I know where 3 dozen of them are being thrown out, and if you're there at a certain time, because an old fire shelter is better than no fire shelter. And now the guys, the new chief was more wildfire savvy than I was. They all have the backpacks and the stuff, and sports bars and different things. But we got our groups together. And what did we do? Rick looked at the result. He started, so what I taught you is really in reverse. When you're doing stuff, start with the end in mind. What is the result you're looking for? And really go deep. Go deep. The result we're looking for is defensible space around the houses. Why? So they can be safer. Why? So we have, and then that 3rd or 4th why will really be the result you're looking for. And those are just goals. Review your values. Look at your group. Do kind of like a values forecast on the people that are coming in the room. Or if you're really brave, if you're starting a new group, do a value survey. And do a cloud, so your group knows what their values are. And then choose your energy. Middle of the night, downtown Dallas, 2 people are coming up from behind. I'm not going to choose we all win. Not going to do that. I'm going to choose fight back and run. So that I don't want to give you this perception that everything is peaches and creams. There are days that level 2 or level 3 energy might be the best you get out of it because of the situation you're in. But ask yourself, what does level 1 look like? What does level 2 look like? What does we all win? Have you ever asked your team what their win is? Have you ever asked your customers what their win is? What's in it for them? What's the most important thing for them? Back in January, we were doing we do this annual planning thing with our clients. And there were 6 goals. What's the most important thing for you? For me, the most important thing for me was my health. I have 6 little nodules because I was a firefighter and I breathed battery acid a long time ago. Not on purpose, although some of my friends in high school might have. And I was on 100 milligrams of prednisone, and if any of you know, 60 milligrams is the top dose. And I was on 3 breathing meds. And I said, this is nonsense, I can't do this anymore. And I made health my priority. Most important thing for me. So whenever I made a decision, first thing I'd say is, how's this going to affect my health? So figure out for your team, what's the most important. And because I said to Brendan it's the most important thing, we started one of those shake diets. I dropped 30 pounds. I rode the PMNAS Challenge, 200 miles in 2 days. I did it back in August. I couldn't climb the stairs at the Quincy Adams Tea Station outside of Boston, which was like 7:20, because I couldn't breathe. But so my message to you is, figure out your energy. What's your win? Figure out your values. And this is who I am. What's it saying down there at the bottom? Oh, it's Eric's getting email. That's fun when you use someone else's computer and you start seeing an office fight showing up on your PowerPoint presentation. No! The budget is this. So george@innovation.com, email me any questions you have. We actually have, and I'll ask your organizing person, Brenda's telling me, we have a QR code on our phones, Brenda and I, Brenda's in the back corner there, wait Brenda, that if you want the values survey, go over to Brenda, shoot the QR code, or come to me, I'll put my phone off to the side, shoot the QR code, I'm going to give Eric and the organizer folks the link. So one of the emails that you get out that say, don't forget to check your room for stuff, also here's George's link. Go to that, you can get the values tool. After you do the values tool, if you want a half hour of my time or Brenda's time, if you like her better, she's much nicer than I am. You saw it, right, level 6. We'll gladly coach you on the values of your team to show you what this stuff is. And how does that help me? You say, well, this stuff is really cool. And if you start to learn this stuff, maybe you'll find a coach in your area, you'll reach out to me again to come back to Steamboat Springs next spring. Is that where we're going? That's the vote right now, but putting undue pressure on Eric. I like Estes Park myself, really big trout, big Thompson River. That's my vote, although I don't have a vote. And then my thing is, how can I help you? So it's been a pleasure to be here with you. Does anyone have any questions? How are we doing for time?
We have a few questions. Yeah, getting mic.
Okay.
Yes, when you were talking about the benefits of achieving results, things I tell myself in working to achieve my results I expect, some of those you said would be negative, and those are the things that are getting in your way.
Yes.
And then you reframe those.
Yes.
I think it's the slide before that. These things.
Yes.
Which are the ones?
So if you come up with a negative, we don't have enough money. We don't have enough money. What's the opposite of we don't have enough money? We got to find a different way to do it. There are, level 6, there are other opportunities. The fire chief is a jerk. The other side is the fire chief can work with us, and we need to find a way to work with the fire chief. And finding action items instead of negative items, instead of we don't have, here's what we need to do to flip that. And I'm joking, I talked to a couple fire chiefs. Your fire chiefs in Colorado are wicked cool. And, I don't know if it's because they wear clogs to work or Tevas or they bring their dog to work. I don't know what it is. Is the air better? I don't know what it is, but all right, I didn't meet all of them. There's probably a jerk somewhere. But the folks I met, cool guys. Cool guys. And probably cool gals, too. Do you have women fire chiefs in Colorado? Yeah. Massachusetts has a few. They bring another view, and it's fabulous. Another question?
One more. Anyone?
One more question? So, advertisement. I'm on again at sometime after this. You have it in your report.
11 o'clock.
I don't want to watch anymore. 11 o'clock. And what we're going to do at 11 o'clock is you're going to come in with the hardest, most difficult challenges, and we're going to, as a group, reframe them. And I'm going to talk about team agreements. I'm going to talk about how you have quality conversations with people that aren't actually doing the things you want them to do. There's a way that you can tell someone they're a jerk and they'll agree with you. I'll teach you that. And yeah, you want that, don't you? And we're just going to continue more fun that we're having here. So again, my pleasure. Thank you, Eric. Thank you for finding me a little while ago. And Brenda and I are here. If you have any questions, come see us. Thank you very much.